here goes. I have some shit I want to get off my chest and off my mind. And it's really just bothering me. So, first thing is, what is failure? Failure to me is not achieving an objective when you've tried every means available to you and it still doesn't happen in your favor. Failure doesn't mean, well, let's put it this way. Absolute failure is never trying at all. That's an absolute failure. But failure in and of itself does not mean you didn't try. Say you're learning how to do parkour. And one of the first things you need to learn how to do is jump from the sidewalk 3 feet away onto, I don't know, a block of wood and land, right? When you try to do that and land on it successfully with both feet at the same time, you will fail. One foot slips off, you don't land it, you don't jump far enough, whatever the case, you fail. But you did not make an absolute failure, which is saying, standing there on that sidewalk, looking at that block, saying, oh, that's too far away. I'll never make that. And never trying. That's an absolute failure to me. Right? But the other one is a failure just the same, because the stated objective was to land on the block of wood 3 feet away with both feet at the same time. Well, you didn't. You landed with one foot and the other one hit the ground. Failure. That's a fail. Right? Now, what we do in society and what we teach to people in this Western American society is to embrace the standing on the sidewalk, never trying to jump, and thinking of all the reasons why you would never make it that 3 foot, and then never actually trying. Never even trying to do it. Not taking into account any of the things like, well, you've jumped 4 feet before, so you should be able to jump 3 feet now. Or you're pretty tall, you could do this. Well, if you lean out when you spring forward, you'll actually cover more of that distance with your body. And then all you have to do is bring your legs under you. Is the block of wood stable enough or wide enough for your feet to fit? You don't think about any of those things that could actually aid you in succeeding. You only think about the things that could go wrong. You couldn't do it. Well, what if I jump and I don't spring out far enough and I fall short? Or what if I slip when I try to jump? What if the block isn't stable and it wobbles when I jump and I land on it, but then I fall off? You think about all that other shit that could potentially go wrong, and you never even try to jump. That's an absolute failure. Now, I can say, for me in my life, I failed a lot. I failed a lot at a lot of different things. But I have not failed because I was afraid to try. There are a couple of absolute failures that I've had. Oh, for sure. The one that comes to mind most certainly is being in Jamaica in my teens and not jumping off or diving off the cliff at Rick's Cafe. I could have did it. I know I could have did it. I was not afraid of the heights. I knew how to swim. I wasn't afraid of swimming in the ocean. Only thing I couldn't work out in my head was how to get out that water and get back up the cliff. But because I didn't get up to go look to see, oh, there's stairs up there. Other people has just jumped off of there. You watched, and they came back up. So there's a way to do it. Because I didn't do that, and I was too afraid to, I made an absolute failure. It's an absolute failure. Because I've never been back to Jamaica yet. So I didn't try to do something I knew I wanted to do and could do because I didn't figure it the rest of the way out. I didn't even try. Didn't even try. Absolute fucking failure. Right? Now, some smaller scale could be, damn, that chick was fine as fuck. I think she was feeling me. I really feel the vibes that she was feeling me. Nah, she couldn't have been. I'm gonna just leave. Call it a day. Absolute failure. Yes, she could have been a bitch. Yes, she could have not been attracted to me. Yes, all of that could be true. I could have mumbled my words. I could have said something stupid. My breath could have stank. I could have had a booger hanging out of my nose. Yeah, all of that's true. But I could have also really been charming. She could have really been somewhat attracted to me and was waiting for me to come up and speak to her because she really wanted to talk to me. Maybe more than I wanted to talk to her. And we could have went on and had a fucking fabulous fucking relationship that could have ended up in another marriage or more kids or different kids. Right? That's how that shit works. Absolute failure. You never know. Now, the failure that I try to deal with, and I'm a little more comfortable with than the absolute failure, because the absolute failure for me leads to regret. It leads to regret because you never try. And then you have to think of all the potential possibilities that could have been. You got to think of all of those. That's what an absolute failure gives you. Fucking regret. And my kids can tell you, I've said it out loud, I do not want to die with regret. That's seems like the most miserable way to fucking die to me. That I'm laying in the bed thinking of all the things that I wish I would have did when I had an opportunity to. That sounds miserable. That means, how did you fucking live then? How did you live? In fear? Constantly? Never trying anything that's a challenge? Never going after the things you actually want unless you knew it was safe and you could easily obtain it? Really? Get the fuck out of here. That is not what human beings are born for. Oh, hell no. That doesn't even sound fucking appetizing as a story to read. Everything he tried, he got. And he was never challenged. Get the fuck out of here. That's the makings of Mary Sueism. It's probably why I'm not into that shit. So what I do, and trust, I didn't develop this since I was a kid. I developed it over time as I got to be an adult and after I had children and shit like that. I had to embrace part of myself that understood that at one point in my life, I was a fearless kid. I'd try anything. And at another point in my life, something made me really scared. That I learned that I was supposed to be afraid of everything. And in another point in my life, I slowly start getting out of that shit and stop being so fearful. And at another point in my life, I got really relentless about not being afraid of shit. That I would go after the things that I was afraid of to make sure I wasn't afraid of that shit no more. Actively. When I talk about going skydiving, that was why. I don't want to be afraid of that shit. I have done things to fear less things because I saw it as a weakness in myself. And I don't want a bunch of weaknesses in myself. I want to turn my weaknesses into strengths. So I endeavor to make myself better as a man, as a human being, and challenge my fears. As one of my favorite movie states, Revolver, is that the person you're trying to beat hides behind your fear. And the person you're trying to beat is yourself. The darker half of yourself that wants you to fail. Tells you everybody's your enemy. Wants you wrapped up in your own insecurities and fictitious ideas about what the world actually is, and never push yourself. Never challenge yourself. Always thinking a paranoid state that everything is out to get you and coming for you. I'm a black man. I don't need to do that much extra mental work. It may be true in some senses, but I don't need to do it to myself too. Okay? It's not necessary. And in the realest sense, that's all I was doing. I was trying to cut the unnecessary parts away. So, to say all that, absolute fear or absolute failure is the non-trying. Regular failure, which comes from you actually trying something and not making it, not sticking the landing, is bad, but it's not as bad. Because in that failure, you learn. You learn what didn't work, and you learn what did work. In some ways, you should hope for that fucking failure. You should hope for it. Think about it like this. If you were building an electrical circuit, and this machine has a lot of wires going a lot of different places, flipping a lot of switches and different things going on. But when it works properly, it will provide life for somebody else. Before you put it into somebody else, you're going to test it. You're going to run some power through it, and you're going to want to find out what fails. You're going to try to make it fail. You want to see what it can actually take that would make it fail. So you know how to fix it and make it better so it doesn't fail in that spot. You'll do that. Like, Top Gun just came out, right? Top Gun 2 just came out. In the beginning of the movie, they show Tom Cruise or character of Maverick being a test pilot and testing his plane and trying to get it to Mach 9. But the parameters have been moved up once it gets to the base, and they want it at Mach 10 or the program is over. The program is over. Everybody lost their job, go home. Well, what does he do? He gets in the plane and starts flying it, and he gets it up to Mach 9. That was the operation cylinder for that day? Cool. But to save the program, they need to hit Mach 10. So what does he do? He pushes it. And eventually, he gets to Mach 10. Some effort, little work, but he gets there. But he doesn't stay there. Now that he saved the program, he still has to know what's the limit. He has to know what the limit is. So he pushes it past Mach 10. Even though everybody else warned him, don't take it past 10. He pushed it past 10. 0.1. 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Now, eventually, there was a problem. The plane failed at some point after Mach 10. Now, the failure of the plane is a disaster. The failure of that plane is a disaster. A lot of money spent, a lot of money lost. But the information gained from that failure saved that team. They have a job, they have to build a new plane, and they've proven that their design works. Because not only did it hit Mach 10, it went past it. Now when they go back and rebuild the next plane, they understand what went wrong because they had all that data. So how fast do you think the next was going to go? And where do you think they'll push the limit? From studying what went wrong, they will have learned how to make that plane go faster, probably even a Mach 11. They'll make it better. They'll make it stronger because of that failure. It won't stop. Well, we might as well not even try for the next one. No. They made that goal. They will try for the next one. And they will make it better. And it will go faster. And in going faster, they'll push it again to find out where that limit is now. How this relates to life is a lot of times in life you have to push it. You have to push things to that limit. You have to step out on that uncomfortable, dangerous ground to actually try something that nobody else has done. And you have to do it. Because that is where you learn your limits. If you have gotten over in life and never having to actually push yourself, never being challenged in your mental capacity, in your physical capacity, in your just situational capacity of being able to handle this stuff, I feel sorry for you. I do. Because whatever bluster you think you may have at all those successes with no failure, I'm looking at you as like, how do you know you're not no failure? How do you know? You never failed. The analogy I use with this is why I may not consider, I think it was Floyd Mayweather, one of the greatest of all time, is because he hasn't lost. Because you're going to find out what you're made of after you take that loss. That's when you're going to find out what you're really made of. If everybody's been a cakewalk and you've been cherry picking every fight you've ever had to make sure it was nobody that could actually rival you and give you a really good fight, how do you fucking know? How do you still stick your chest out and say, oh, I'm a badass, when you never actually went up against a badass that could actually beat your fucking ass? How do you know? It's bluster. It's boasting. I can't buy it. I can't rock with it like that. It's fake. It's fraudulent to me. It doesn't take anything away from that he's a good fighter. But how good are you really? Do you know? I don't really know. Because I haven't seen you fight anybody who can actually beat your ass and win. I haven't seen that. And even if you fought him and they beat your ass, okay, he was a little bit better on this day. Do a number 2 and let me see how you do this time. Now that you've taken that failure, learn from it, learn from what you weren't doing. Let me see you jump in the ring with the same motherfucker that got your number and fight him again. And let's see how that goes. Chances are, if you're smart, it'll go better. But if you're one of these absolute failure motherfuckers, you won't even try again. You'll quit. You'll never want to see that person in a ring again. Failure is where you learn, not from success. failure is where you learn, not from success. When I succeed at something really easily, one, I don't really appreciate it as much. The other thing is I get really skeptical on why I want it. That's why the hardest critic on whatever I do is me. Because I am always trying to test my limits and see, for me as a person, how much I can do, how much I can learn, how much I can understand, and how far I can go. Because I want to know my limit. And you know all that means is that once I know my limit, I'm going to try to figure out a way to go past it. That's all it means. That's all it means for me. I know what it is. I need to know where the line is, so I know when I want to step over it or not. That's it. That's all. I want to know what's there. And once I found it, good. Now that I know where it is, how do I step over that motherfucker? And where's the next one? Excuse me. The only limit to that for me is two things. Time, which more often than not stops a lot of creative ideas or ventures. Stops a lot of, cuts them short. You don't have the time to do it, it doesn't get done. It just doesn't fucking happen. If you're in the flow with something that's really working for you and you run out of time that you can devote to it, you end up stopping, you'll lose the flow. You lose that creative idea, whatever, or that inspiration you had at that moment. You'll lose it. The other one is resources. You can only do some things for so long. And in the absence of time being an issue, resources is always the issue. Always. Those are the two things that will always get you. When I did contracting and I would go onto a job and people would tell me what it was that they were looking for or whatever, and I'd draw up a plan for them, like, draft up something so they could see something visual of what they're telling me, and I would draw it up. And, oh, that looks nice. That's probably going to be expensive. Well, not really. Because all it is time and material, which is a resource. That's it. That's all it is. Paying me for my time and buying the resources you need to get the job done. If you're willing to buy the resources, I will give you my time, but then you have to pay me for my time. Because it has to be compensated. And one or the other will stop any job. You don't pay me for my time, it don't matter how many resources you got. You ain't got the one that matters, which is the resource of paying me for my fucking time. If you pay me for my time, but then you ain't got the money for the resources, then we ain't getting shit done. Because, yeah, you can pay me for the whole week, but ain't nothing getting built because you don't have the resources. You don't have the lumber. You don't have the wood. You don't have the material here. What do you want me to do? Play in the dirt? Fuck it. You paying for it. I guess I will. Right? That's where all of that stuff comes in. Time and resources. And I say all that to say this. I have failed again. I failed at something I really wanted to do. I really wanted to make happen. And I tried to make happen. Put a lot of time, a lot of resources into making happen, and it still failed. What does that mean? It means I'm going to have to close down the shop. Because what I put in, what other people had put in, was not enough. And because we ran out of resources, we have run out of time. And that makes me sad to say. It really hurts me to say it, because this is the first time I've said it out loud. This is the first time I've said it out loud. It is fucked up. It's really fucked up. I love that place. I do. And I really tried. I really tried. But something wasn't enough. Something was not enough. And because of that, it's going to go away on my watch. And that makes me sad. I feel like I will lose a part of myself with that place. I don't have any more resources to pour into it. I don't. I'm not working like I'm working because I just have nothing better to do. I'm working the way I'm working to pay for the resources that I'm putting into the place to try to keep it running. And time has just run out. There's not enough resources. Not enough resources. And so in all honesty, I never opened this letter that the landlord dropped off to me. I never opened it. I didn't need to. I didn't feel I needed to. Because I knew what it was going to be. And for that feeling, these are the last days of the shop. And I haven't told anybody. I haven't told anybody. Keep trying to find a way to save it so I don't have to say that. I can be angry about it. I can be angry at people. I can be angry at myself and all that. But all that fucking anger is not making it fucking stay open. It's not. The only thing that's going to keep it open is the resources that I do not have. I tried. And saying that does not give me any solace at all. Because I believe it can be a success. I believe that. I've seen it be a success. That failure comes down to those two things. And the one that's leading it is the resource. And because of this failure, now I will have a lot more time. This is artisanmc.